YouTube family and friends. This is Rob at the Sapper Gardener, and as you can tell from behind me, it's chow time. And today we're going to be doing a chicken, shrimp, and sausage gumbo, especially so that we can use some of the sauce that Dapper Dan over at Home in the Stick Center. So we're going to be using some Dat Sauce today. So let me switch you guys around and we'll get ready to show you what we're working with. So we got quite a few ingredients here. I'm going to try to go through and hopefully not miss any. One that we don't have out, which we always know is needed, is salt and pepper. So you guys can salt and pepper your food as you see fit. We're going to add that later on in the recipe. But for today, what we're going to do is we're going to make a roux with butter and all-purpose flour. And one thing I like to do is add just a few drops of olive oil into ours to help prevent burning, but that's a Rob Sapper Gardener thing. We're also going to add in some smoked sausage, some chopped frozen okra, some peeled and deveined shrimp. We've got our Trinity out here. We've got some garlic. Oh, sorry, the Trinity is celery, onion, bell pepper, and we're using an orange bell pepper today. We've got our garlic. We've got some shallots or green onions. We've got some cilantro we're going to add on later. We've got some chopped diced tomatoes, and we're going to be using some Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. We're going to add in a little bit of beef bouillon, and we're going to add into our water later some beef broth for flavor. And we're going to use some of that world famous, or at least Louisiana and Mississippi famous, Dat Sauce. So for Dan, for Louisiana Gardening Family, for Danny at Growing Grass Hobby Farms, who dat, brothers. And last main ingredient is the chicken. And one of the things that we do is we par cook our chicken. So I've seared our chicken. It's not done 100% through, but it's mostly done on the outside. So I'm going to chop that up and I'm going to add that later on in the cooking time. And I'm also going to give a quick pan sear to our smoked sausage. It's already fully cooked, but just to add a little bit more color and flavor to it. So I'll be back in a second as we start to make our roux. So I said cilantro, but this is parsley. I'm so thankful I have Mrs. Sapper Gardener correct me when I'm not on my P's and Q's. So we're gonna add that in later too. So I apologize for not showing you guys one of the steps when we par cook the chicken, but I'm sure everybody here is par cooked. So we just put our chicken in a pan with a little bit of olive oil, and we seared it for about 5 minutes on each side. And then I turn the heat off and I let the chicken rest in the hot pan to cook it a little bit more through. But again, it's not a fully cooked chicken, it's just partially cooked before we add it into our roux. And we're going to do something similar with our turkey. Our sausage, we're gonna get it in. And we're going to just let it get a little color on each side. Then I'm going to take it out of the heat, put it back in the bowl, and let it rest until we get ready to add it in. And at the same time, we've got our butter on low heat. We got it on 4, which is maybe medium low, close to medium. And we're going to let that butter slowly melt. Then we're going to start whisking in our flour so that we can get our roux. And we're going to do a blonde roux today, so it should only take about 10-15 minutes to get that going. So this is exactly what we want our sauce to look like. We just add a little bit of flavor on it. So now we've turned our heat off, and I'm actually just going to let this sit here. And we've got our butter almost melted, and you can see it's starting to bubble down in there. So I'm going to add in some of our flour and start to whisk this until we get it the color we want. So we're gonna do our celery. And this is still on a medium-low heat, so you shouldn't worry too much about burning anything. And I've never put the actual sizes, or I rarely put the actual sizes, because you want to cook what's right for your family. But we did a 1/4 cup of flour and a 1/4 cup of butter for our roux. And we're doing about a cup of each of the Trinity, so we can get more vegetables into our diet, which we all need. But again, there's probably a million different ways to do your roux, so do it the way that suits your taste bud and your family size. We want a lot of vegetables in ours, even though we got a lot of protein to go with it. We're just going to keep stirring this so nothing burns on the bottom of our pan. And all these get some access to that heat and flavor. And we're almost got everything in here. And we're just going to let this soften up before we go to the next step. And as usual, I forgot another ingredient. So we're going to add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce into our gumbo and give it a little bit more flavor. And after the Worcestershire sauce, we're going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and a little bit of this Tony Chachere's original Creole seasoning. Not a lot, because we can always come back in and add more, but we can't take it out if we put too much. So we're gonna layer our flavors in just a little at a time. And this is smelling so good already. So now we've waited about 5-10 more minutes, and we're going to add in some stock. The original recipe called for 4 cups of water and some bouillon. We're going to add in 2 cups of stock. We're going to add in our parsley. Okay. Had to check with the missus to make sure I'm identifying our herbs right. So we did 2 cups of stock, and we're going to do 2 cups of water. We're going to let this warm back up again. Yep. Get my wife's over my shoulder, making sure I don't forget anything again. So we're going to add in some bouillon base. So now we're going to add in our 2 of our proteins, our chicken.
I don't want it to splash.
Yep, I don't want it to splash on me either. So I'm going to move back a little so she doesn't worry about splashing me. See, 4 hands is better than 2, or 1 with a camera. And after we get our chicken in there, we're going to add in, so I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. I turned the heat up just a little bit to get that rolling boil. I'm going to turn it back down to medium so we can get our protein in there. Yep, it's looking good. Yep, you don't want it that big explosive boil though. You want a slow boil for it. So we got the chicken in, and we're also going to add our sausage in, which looks beautiful over there. And I have to say, SK1 actually cut the sausage up for us today. He's always asking to help out in the kitchen, so I gave him a semi-safe job, and I did monitor him with the knife just to make sure he didn't cut any of his fingertips off. Alright, so this is starting to look like gumbo to me, folks. So it's cooked down for 40 minutes. And now we're going to add in our diced tomatoes. Hold on, Robbie, I'm cooking, buddy. So, I'm gonna let that go in. And we're also gonna add in what probably is really the star is the okra, or gumbo, as some folks like to call it. And if nobody out there knows yet, my wife loves her some gumbo, or okra, sorry. And I forget the name of it in Tagalog, but it's like one of the top foods in the Philippines. So, this looks like a lot of okra to me, but happy wife, happy life. I'm gonna add some more. So, we're going to cook this for another 30 minutes. Yeah, this is definitely starting to look like a nice, thick gumbo. So we're gonna let this come back up to temperature, cook for 30 more minutes, and then we're going to add in our shrimp. We're going to season again and see how it comes out. All right, so now our next step, we're gonna add in our shrimp and we're gonna cook them for about 15 minutes. I actually just tasted the gumbo sauce and it is perfect. We don't need to add anything in here in the pot, but if people want a little more salt or a little more pepper, then they can add that at the table. I can tell anyone who hasn't tried the Tony Chachere's, which included me, it is delicious. So between that and the Dat Sauce and the regular seasonings we put in here, this is perfect so far. And we're also going to add in half of our green onions, and then the rest will sit at the table and we'll use as a garnish when we get ready to plate everything up. This food looks so good, I'm looking at it and not the camera, but oh, everything is coming out good. And what we're going to serve with this, hopefully I mentioned earlier, we've got rice sitting here in our rice cooker that's ready to go. And our youngest, SK2, doesn't like rice, so we're gonna do mashed potatoes for him. So we've boiled some potatoes and we're gonna add that out to the table for him with some fish and chicken. But this tastes delicious now. I've tasted it, Mrs. SG hasn't tasted it yet, but hopefully she agrees with me when we plate this up in about 15 minutes. So Mrs. Sapper Gardner is going to show you guys how we do our rice. So just depending on how much, not too tight, sweetie. Okay. Just depending on how much you want. Okay. We put ours in one of these bowls that we got from our local Asian market, and it makes a perfect little dome inside the plate. Georgia dome. And Mrs. Sapper Gardner and SK1 are both more into the rice than me and SK2. So SK2 got just a little bit more than me. And we're gonna put a little bit of the green onions on there. And then we're gonna spoon over our gumbo. And your gumbo, one of the main things that the roux is for is to thicken up your gumbo. So SK1 is anxiously awaiting his, but Sapper Garden is the king of this castle, so I'm gonna plate mine up first. So put your bowl closer, buddy.
This good. Yeah, you can put it down, baby. Okay, that's cool.
Uh-oh.
That's okay for now.
A little closer, buddy. Oh, I'm looking at my plate instead of at his. Get my bowl, I'm sorry. There you go, sweetie.
Okay, you want some oyster?
I am. So, here is my plate of gumbo, and it looks delicious. So, one thing I like, and it's everybody's different. Growing up, most of the time we ate our gumbo with saltine crackers. I like oyster crackers with mine. So, I can sprinkle them around the edge. Oh, hold on, let me show you what it'll look like. This will be our thumbnail. So this is SK1 serving, and it looks picture perfect. So we're gonna use that as our profile picture.
Hey, buddy. Yeah.
And mine looks good, but his looks better. So it's all about the plating. But you can see, I just put a few oyster crackers around mine. Typically, we would scoop it up, but it is what it is. Okay, so we've gone around and almost finished off serving number one. And I have to say all the flavors go together great. The chicken, the shrimp, the sausage, the Tony Chacheres, the Trinity, the okra. Even though I'm not even a huge okra fan, my wife loves okra. Everything in this gumbo went together perfect over the rice. So I'm gonna give it 2 thumbs up. SK1 is a little ahead. I've still got 2 bites. He inhaled his. So SK1, what did you think about the food?
It's super good.
Okay.
It's super bad.
You didn't even eat any.
No,
So
he's just being.
SK2 is a picky eater, so he doesn't eat mixed foods like that. So, and Mrs. Sapper Gardner, what were your thoughts on
I'm
it?
gonna get it more.
Okay, she's gonna get more, and we probably did twice as much okra in here as I would have done, but it doesn't overwhelm the dish at all. So, and it's not soupy or runny. I've seen people who do their gumbo and it's more of a soup than a gumbo, but gumbo is thick. That's why you have the roux in there to help thicken it up. And this one was perfect with the oyster crackers too. Instead of scooping my gumbo out, I can get a spoonful of the oyster crackers in each bite, and that just makes it even better. So, and Dan,
It's half full. I'm sorry.
the Dat Sauce is almost gone, bro. So I'm not saying send us any more because I think I can order it online, but this is, I won't say it's gonna replace our Tennessee Sunshine, but I think when we order one, we gotta order the other one now too. So, as always, we wanna thank everyone for watching our videos. God bless our great country, America. God bless you wherever you reside around the world. And God bless your garden and your kitchen, that you have a bountiful harvest and delicious meals with your family. Take care.